So we are gathered here today to...
Dearly, dearly beloved, wear your fucking masks.
Yes.
I'm Dan Carlson from Us Three Blokes.
Yeah. I'm John Kadolf, another third of Us Three Blokes, and I also say wear your fucking mask.
This is a Tic Tac. I'm not popping pills or anything.
Well, why are you not popping pills? Try harder.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Dave Nesbitt, another third of Us Three Blokes. I work at a hospital, and I'm telling you right now, wear your mask or I'll punch you in the fucking throat. Oh,
Yes.
And so on my list of things, I had to go out and actually get beer. I was running low. So I made up a custom six-pack among the other things that I grabbed. And the other ones I have next to me are ones that I've tried before and I really enjoy, but this is something new. So this is Abita Strawberry Lager. And so this is my first taste, kind of my unboxing of it.
Oh, and how do you feel?
Ooh, that's really good.
Excellent.
Got a good lager flavor to it, but the strawberries actually like complement the flavor rather than like right at the front.
Oh, well, that's good.
So you get this good lager flavor, and then there's the strawberry finish to it that's actually really nice and pleasant.
Very cool.
I'm teetotaling today.
I have an Angry Orchard crisp apple unfiltered, and on deck I have an Angry Orchard hard cider pear. So I'm really interested in digging into this one.
This is something that Dave was kind of leaning you toward like a couple weeks ago. He mentioned pear ciders.
Oh yeah, it was really good.
And that's why I actually picked it up. But you know what? I'm going to open this one and try it first.
Okay.
So I can tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, you have
That's
one.
Yeah, I've got a.
I had that. I had a can of that a couple weeks ago. It was really good.
Oh,
I'm just here thinking. All right, let's make sure that we hold our beers up, and then let's get screen caps, and then send them out to the companies and say, "Look, sponsorship." Just saying.
That actually made my fingertips tingle. Goosebumps! Oh my god, I've got any goosebumps! Can you see them?
No.
Thank you, Angry Wow! Ooh, Angry Orchard. Oh, I didn't know you cared. Shudder Club.
Yes.
Yeah. The movie is, and again, like all of our reviews, spoiler heavy. So
yeah. There's no way around it.
Have conversation with us, leave comments, all that stuff. But Starfish gets its title from the food fed to a bunch of pet jellyfish, and that's a weird way to start the review. So I'm gonna hand over to Dave.
Yeah, Dave.
Okay, so Starfish. It's a movie. It's a trippy movie. It's a trippy horror movie. And so to describe the plot, basically this young lady is going out to the funeral of her best friend, who she was estranged from, but they were, things were going to work their way back to normal. And then she had the, poor taste to die before that happened. She's sitting there and she's handling the funeral as best she can. And then she goes back to her hotel room and she's like, I can't handle my hotel room. So she breaks into her friend's apartment and goes to sleep there. And when she wakes up, the entire world has gone bonkers. It's gone from being summer to suddenly the entire area is coated in snow.
Yep.
Don't seem to be any live people walking through the streets. A plane has crashed in the background. There's blood trails everywhere, and she's trying to figure out what's going on when she sees this scary beast and runs the hell away. And she finds a radio, and somebody's trying to communicate with her.
Shop or store or something.
Yeah, and she's trying. This guy's communicating with her and says, "Hold the radio up and don't look at it." And all of a sudden, you hear this strange frequency playing, and eventually, it scares off the big scary beastie.
It's like the two different types of subtitles I was running at different times when I watched it. One of them called it chittering.
Yep.
One of them called it skittering.
Mm-hmm. And so she goes back up to her friend's apartment and finds a note and a mixtape made for her.
This mixtape will save the world.
The overall plot is that she's going through, she spends some time just, basically decompressing, and then goes out to the store and then starts finding more of these mixtapes all over town. And she finds out that there has been a signal going on in the background across the world that her friend and a bunch of other people have been studying. And she discovers that these particular signals, that when you play them, basically either alter reality or push you into different realities. The description
or
is
open doors to different realities.
Yeah, it's, the person says the signals open doors.
Yep.
And there's a scene where she's sitting down in a library and has found yet another mixtape, and she's sitting there meditating, listening to the mixtape. And one moment she's in a desert, and in another moment she's in a city, and in another moment she comes to and finds out that she's in a film set in the library that she's in, and the film that they're shooting is a film called Starfish about the end of the world.
She becomes a sentient character. She becomes sentient of the fact that she is in the movie that we are watching. So we become participants in the experience because she's now aware we're watching her.
Yep.
And that gave me goosebumps when that happened. When I realized that this wasn't just a pretty cool movie. This was operating on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Yep. And so she basically makes her way out to a radio station that she works at and plays all of the tapes and all of the signals at once, and discovers that basically as a result she's ended the world.
Yeah.
And the last scene,
She discovers that, of course, because once she has all of the tapes.
Bring your microphone closer. Or I don't know. Your sound is a little off.
Once she discovers
she has all the tapes.
What? No, that's good. That's good.
Once she discovers she has all the tapes and she realizes that each one of them has a phrase on it, she puts them together, and it basically says that playing all these tapes will fuck the world.
Yeah. So
I can't remember the exact message of
the way that plays out as a punchline is that throughout the entire movie, we spend like the first probably half hour of the movie with her grieving her friend. It's not boring by any means, but it sets you into this kind of slower pace that you would normally not expect from a genre movie. And she basically, it leads to this moment when she's talking to an imaginary version of her friend who is interfacing with her psychologically so that she can talk to herself, basically, telling her to be happy and get on with her life. And she doesn't do that. She continues on with the theory that if she continues fixing the situation by continuing the journey to bring the tapes together, that everything will be better. And of course, that's the very thing that makes everything horrible.
Yep.
So
the overall theme of the film to me is that it's about the various stages of grief, where it's, denial and bargaining and anger and all of these things. And then at the end, as the world is ending around her, she does reach that moment. The last scene is one of the most poignant things I've seen in a while, where she's basically dancing her way into the end of the world. But you also get the feeling that this is the stage that we all kind of try to get to of acceptance. She's like, this is what's going to happen. There's not a whole lot I'm going to be able to do about it. So end result is I might as well just let it go and go out, with a spring in my step.
Yeah. But I think she had to go through the attempt to get to that understanding. I would think,
Yeah.
And then there's a subplot all the way through of her having this repeated dream of her. And the thing I like about it, and the thing that drives you crazy at the same time, is that they never say specifically what happened, but the impression you get is that she either cheated on her significant other or took her best friend's significant other.
So I was confused as to whether she was having an affair with her best friend or if she was having an affair with her friend's boyfriend. But I sense definitely there was some sort of betrayal involved, and that that someone took their own life. I'm not sure if it's the boyfriend, the guy, but there's several moments when he has no face. A moment when he puts himself in the water and just kind of lets himself go.
So when she comes out of the funeral or the wake or whatever it is, she is asked by the lady, the cousin, did you say anything to so-and-so, the boyfriend? And she said, no, I just walked right past.
Well, that was him. So he's still alive then, or at least
he's still alive.
The funeral.
Okay, so these demons, all these creatures that are coming through, it's almost a parallel to what is going on in her life. She has a lot of demons to face, and she's escaping them, and her playing these tapes is a parallel to her confronting her demons, and coming into this overall awareness of peace when she steps into that bubble at the end and just floats. I feel like that's her transcendence from running away from demons into peace. And I don't think she dies. I think that it's just I think it's a huge parallel. Like
maybe it's just that visually it shows that she is accepted.
Well,
I like that reading.
The guy with that at the beginning, the first really kind of gory scene we see is the boyfriend turning, and his face is gouged out. And blood is dripping upwards in the cavity, and it's the same guy on the beach, and it's as if maybe I think that the whole cheating thing with the boyfriend is more likely because of the fact that, she has these flashbacks to her taking her clothes off and meeting him on the beach. The boyfriend turns into one of these creatures, into one of these demons of her life. And she kind of makes good with it. She confronts it, and therefore she's able to let it go. I want to just make a comment on how effective and beautiful a few things are. The cinematography, first of all. I mean, it's a work of art.
This is one of the most beautifully shot films I've seen. The nearest comparison I can make, and it's part of the, it's still one of those ones that we go back and forth on arguing, but my comparison is Panos Cosmatos. Like, clearly this is a person with a very strong vision of what it is they want to see and what they want to use as visual metaphors for the whole story. And like there are segments in there where you're like, they're holding on to shots, but god damn, it's a beautiful shot.
Well, the shots are beautiful, but there's also every moment felt to me like it was earned. Like even though
there's a real context for everything that's happening.
We're sitting in this in the house of this of the dead best friend, and we can sense everything she's doing is sort of an attempt to feel closer to her. And the few moments when she tries to escape, there's a scene where she's shown masturbating. It's not shown for titillation.
Gratuitous,
It's just her face.
Right.
The point of it is to show that she's trying to escape, and even in that moment, she's not able to do it for very long.
Right, because she's imagining herself having sex with the boyfriend.
Okay.
That's
that's visual. That's visually very beautiful too. They show it as like a projected image on the ceiling,
right?
Rather than like, oh, now we're going to go off into dreamland. It's just kind of an interesting visual way to treat that, I thought.
Now, this all could be turned on his head slightly. The boyfriend could have been hers, and the friend could have been cheating on her with the boyfriend or something. I mean, what I mean is it could have been her boyfriend, and the boyfriend was cheating on her with
they don't
grace.
They don't seem to make a clear delineation of who did what. We just sense that there was a betrayal.
Yeah, and I don't think that aspect is really all that important.
No, it isn't.
You know, I think that it actually also it kind of accentuates the fact that, you know, getting people have a tendency to get held up in the minutia of a situation and just keep digging at it and digging at it and digging at it, and it's not necessary. The overall feel of betrayal is all that's needed. The second point that I wanted to make about the film and its impact is the soundtrack is, I would have to say, the best movie soundtrack of 2020.
I'm not thinking about, and the songs that are used are pretty good. They're not bad.
They're very specific.
They're very specific. They're good. But I don't know if that's your talk. But I'm actually thinking about the score. The score is fucking beautiful. It's lush.
Oh yeah,
in the right spots. It's very bare and piano oriented in others,
which can be purchased, by the way.
Oh well, good.
I was not able to find a soundtrack. I was able to find a score.
Well, I would prefer the score, so I'm glad to hear it's out there. I might pick it up.
Yep.
If you're interested in some of the music, I've heard some of those bands on like a Pink Floyd cover album I had Sparkle Horse on it. That's one of the bands that's in here.
Yep.
You know, so, and they're actually, and the lyrics are really, if you have the subtitles on, you can watch the lyrics. The lyrics are actually really clever. So, and kind of play into the story a bit.
I mean, you know, there's so much we could say about this film, but
let's talk about that animated sequence.
Oh God.
Wow.
I love it when films can do this without making it feel artificial. Mm-hmm. It felt like it was a genuine scene in the movie, and man, I just get a big fucking woody for movies, live action movies that are able to place an animated scene effectively into it.
Even Xanadu.
I like Xanadu.
Okay, so do I. I love it. So that's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, okay. I like Xanadu. I like any movie that can effectively put an animated sequence, you know, and have it feel real. But again, it's the even the direction of the animation and the music playing over it. I mean, it's just, oh my gosh, this movie just really, you know, how do I describe what this movie does to me? It go ahead. I'll think.
Okay. So I would ask Dave, is this Squishy approved?
Oh, it's definitely Squishy approved.
So
reality changes. Reality changes all the time in this. Literally from moments when she's dropping into other dimensions and parallel realities, and the animated sequence begins when she's trapped in a truck by one of those beings, and she's playing that signal. And I think that signal is actually, in a way, kind of projecting her into that animated reality, or else her brain is kind of sitting there trying to find an escapist point because she's trapped in a truck with a scary being trying to eat her.
And Dave, I think you made a really good point earlier, way early on, that is this all in her head? And how it's clear that the chittering sound warps reality. Because, you know, I had originally said, well, you know, it opens doors. They say in the movie it opens doors. But
well said.
Thank you. Wow, that was banana flavored.
Well, that opened a door.
Yeah. Woo. I'm gonna let that door stay open. I like that. Anyway, wow, my burp threw me off. The flavor was marvelous. Okay, back to my thought, which was, it opens doors and it warps reality. I think it does both, to be honest. Because I think that you're right, that every time we hear that chittering, something slightly changes. And then when everything is played in the right sequence, it changes everything. And allows to come through. Sorry.
One of the recurring themes in the movie is the I don't want to say redemptive power of art, but because it doesn't actually save anybody at the end, but it makes everything bearable for her. You know, it's one of the ways she escapes several times listening to music. She actually spends time in a movie theater, an empty movie theater, just to feel close to some sort of. And the line that stuck with me in the movie the most was when she said, "Everybody has to die, but their story shouldn't have to."
Yeah.
And
that to me was like one of the most poignant things, is that I think she's sitting around and living in the memories of her lost friend and all of these things, and realizing that part of her responsibility now is to carry on the memory of someone who died.
Mhm.
And when when you lose somebody and you have that moment of, not allowing them to slip and fall away, it's really kind of powerful. And it really touched upon that. That's why I keep saying that the primary theme of this film is grief and how you deal with it, because, a significant part of it is her spending her time trying to figure out how she's going to relate to the loss of somebody who was so close to her, and the ending or the damage that she did to her relationship. Because there's a moment in there when she's kind of reliving a lot of the sequences that she's had with her significant other. And it starts off great, and then the last part of it before she falls back into the current reality is her walking away in tears with him walking behind her, trying to, get her attention. And I mean, if you want to sit down and take the entire film literally, it works. If you want to sit down and view the entire film as a metaphor, it works. And at the same time, if you want to view it as a mixture of both, it works really well. And oftentimes films with that kind of dream logic don't really work consistently. The dream logic fails at some point. But here it works all the way through it. And it's really a remarkably well thought out and incredibly well visualized piece of work.
I'd say one of the reasons I love David Lynch so much is not just because, there's some fucked up images in those movies and some scary stuff, but there's actually moments that deeply move me. Like the scene in Lost Highway where she says to him, "You'll never have me," or, to Song of the Siren, or moments in Inland Empire and things like that. Mulholland Drive, that scared the shit out of me. Jesus.
Oh, God.
I haven't seen it.
We'll have to add that, because it is definitely David Lynch's holy shit.
I do not scare easily, but there's shit in that movie that I still,
Thinking of David Lynch, I just discovered, and I'm now bitching at all of my friends about this, but the first 2 seasons of Twin Peaks are up on Hulu now.
The original or the new one?
The original. The new season I like too, but I'm looking.
I love the new one.
Yeah. Episode 8 of the new one is staggering in its view. But back to this film.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but to me, it's one of those, when I sit around and I talk about, squishy approved and all of that, sitting around and making a weird film or making weird images does not necessarily make something particularly squishy in my view. What it is talking about the spaces between dreams and reality. And this film is all about that.
Wes Craven actually called that rubber reality, which is what he was doing for most of his career, from Elm Street on to Serpent in the Rainbow and things like that.
Yep. And to me, that's the key element, is sitting around there and seeing how it is that you can influence your reality simply by wandering through your existence.
Well, and another element of it is the really effective ones are the ones that speak to you on a deeper level. Like there were moments in this movie where I didn't even understand why I was being moved, but I was moved.
The symbol, I was saying when we were talking in chat earlier, the symbolism of this film, the way that it's shot, and the things that you see work on you on a really subconscious level. The symbols are very primal. And I mean, this was a film that genuinely moved me. There were moments when I was sitting there getting misty-eyed watching her. Also, okay, I think her name is Virginia Gardner, the lead actress in this.
She's amazing. And she looks like Brie Larson mixed with, I don't know, she has a very familiar look about her.
Yeah.
But the thing that also, one of the things that I liked as she's going through the film, I mean, she's easy on the eyes the entire way through, but she starts off made up, hair perfectly coiffed, all this for a formal gathering. And as she goes along, she just starts setting aside, my hair is going to look like this, or no makeup, or whatever. Right. Why do I need makeup? Yeah. The world is ending. But it also reflects her getting closer and closer to an actual truth about who she actually is. And I think that view of her is absolutely amazing. And also, she's pretty much running as a solo act for about 70 to 80% of this film. And I never tire of watching what she's doing. I'm not just saying that because she's easy on the eyes. She's doing an amazing job of holding your attention through her acting.
She held this movie together. I mean,
absolutely.
I just wanted to say it's Squishy approved, but I have a feeling it's also Mythos approved because there's a mist monster in there.
Oh,
yes, it is absolutely Mythos approved. Boom. Which leads us to
we've got a double win.
This movie is actually Squithos approved. Wow.
Our new technical word.
That's when a movie is both squishy, has a sort of rubber reality to it, and also fulfills the
functions of a Cthulhu mythos.
Right. That creature, I think, was bigger than the creature in the mist.
Yeah.
And,
most of the creatures look like the monster from the movie Parasite.
Yeah.
But with legs. They're just teeth. They're just like a giant penis with teeth and some legs.
Yeah.
But
notice
okay.
on the beach scene, the creature didn't attack her. The creature came up to her and realized that she didn't want to destroy it any longer. And I think that was also poignant to the fact that she was facing her demons rather than running away from them.
So
there's a moment in there, and it was the moment when I realized this film was definitely going to be Squishy approved. When she's dreaming and suddenly she wakes up and one of those creatures attack her, and she grabs it and slams it up against the wall and proceeds to start punching it until literally she's punched her hand all the way through it.
Yeah.
I thought, we've all had those moments when you wake up from a nightmare and you're trying to conquer the things that are, your fear. But in the process, she's always fighting against it, and she's not trying to accept the thing that actually makes her scared. She's not looking at it. And once she finally does, and there's that scene on the beach that John just mentioned, everything begins to tilt and change a little bit. And she begins to become more comfortable with who she is in the world that she's living in.
In a lesser movie, I think the climax of this film would have been the conversation between her and the friend under the blanket. Because it does sort of give an emotional resonance there, but because it would really kind of feel cheating to have her just say be happy and then have her go, oh okay, well then just wake up and be, because she's still got all this.
The comparison I thought of when I was thinking of that, if it had gone wrong, it would have been in that direction. It would have been like trying to do the last episode of Evangelion. Congratulations. No, in this case, and I love the fact that they're talking in a shorthand that friends have, where they don't have to give all the exposition to talk about, well, there was this moment when they know what the moment is and they know what they're talking about. And it's kind of like when you're sitting in on a really intimate conversation between two really good friends, and you realize, I don't understand what's going on, and I have no right whatsoever to try to impose myself on it.
That was up until the ending. That was my favorite scene of the movie.
Yeah.
Although in a movie that also contains a scene where the actress wakes up and realizes she's in the movie you're watching.
Yeah.
That's quite an accomplishment. That's the moment when I realized that, hey, this is pretty squishy.
Yeah. And also that is a scene that could have fallen right on its face. I mean, that was the moment when I sat there and went, this was this guy's first film, and god damn, I can't wait to see what else they do.
And it ties so strongly into the ongoing theme of art being the mixtapes, the movies, the talk of stories needing to continue. She basically, her thing is not. I think she has to let go of blaming herself so that she's able to share the stories of her friend maybe with others.
That's a good point.
I think we've all had that guilty moment of sitting around telling a story about a friend of yours who you're currently on the outs with, or something bad happened. And so you kind of censor yourself because you don't want to get too emotionally invested in it. You don't want to give away too much of yourself. And here, the further she goes along, the more that she opens up and the more of the story you get. You never get the whole story, but that's because you're an outsider looking in on somebody's private life and their thoughts and their mind. And it's one of the very few films that conveys that really, really well without falling back on a lot of tropes.
Yeah.
Very big. There we
It's
go.
as if my green screen is touchscreen or something. It's weird.
Okay, so it's Mythos approved?
Yes, absolutely. Some other reasons why, not only because of that giant, mist creature.
And the dildo creatures with the teeth.
Yes,
Yeah.
and those. But the movie is about, okay, I'm breaking this down to a very most basic level here. The movie is about a girl who is a radio talk show or radio DJ type of person, and she has a friend who just died, and her investigation into that leads her to a much bigger world impacting theory, and so she becomes an investigator and goes on this treasure hunt. I mean, she's even punching through and reaching behind maps and going to places that are alluded to only by hints that she would only know, and uncovers this huge world bending plot. And that's what's at the heart of a lot of mythos stories. Of course, is a normal everyday person being thrown into the investigation of a much larger conspiracy against the human race. And so that, in addition to the mythos type creatures that are in it, absolutely peg this as a mythos approved film. I'd like to elaborate on that just a bit.
Go right ahead.
I want to say that I probably haven't seen a more perfect film this year. I've seen a lot of awesome films. I've seen a lot of incredible things that I would place right up there with my most favorite films. But I don't think I've seen a film more perfect than this one all year long.
The only movie that sort of is on par with this year for me is Weathering with You, the anime.
Yeah, and I haven't
I have
seen
to
it.
break down and watch that one soon.
Yeah, so that to me that's the best movie of the year. Starfish. It actually technically came out in like 2018, so I don't know if I can put it in my top 5, but it's definitely in the top. It's number 2 of the movies I've seen this year.
It never really.
Exactly.
I'm going to say though, it came out on the festival circuit around 2018, but didn't really see a proper release on VOD or whatever until this year. So I'm just saying, I'm counting it as a 2020 film.
Okay.
Technically perfect.
It feels like it was almost prescient in a lot of ways. Just this a character who is isolated and having to deal with all this not really contagion, but what the hell's going on? And
yep, there's an element that I thought was really that element I thought was actually really cool for this particular period of time, because it was the perfect film for this moment, because it is about isolation and how you deal with it, and only being able to relate to voices that you're hearing, in her case over the radio, and in our case more often than not in things like Zoom meetings or chats or whatever, because nobody wants to run anybody with half a degree of sense doesn't want to run the risk of infecting anybody else. And here she's basically doing it as a matter of survival, but again, so are we. It really captured a moment in time, and it's actually indicative of where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And
I want to point out a couple things about this film, some facts about it right now. Well, first of all, A.T. White, thank you. Don't listen to the IMDb and Google haters. And I say that because it got a 54% amongst Google users and only a 5.3 out of 10 on IMDb. So with it only getting an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic giving it a 74%, I have to absolutely disagree with all of them. They don't know how to watch films. If you didn't find this film as just about as perfect as you're going to get into a psychological film, and showing about life and self and realization of what you need to do to move on, then you don't know how to watch movies. I say this time and time again. People sit down, they expect what they expect on the screen, and they don't watch the film for what it means.
Every week people
just stop going to films. Stay home.
Every week people tune into Shudder Club to hear John tell them they don't know how to watch movies.
Well, okay. I'm saying if you didn't rate this as perfect, then you need to just stay home and play video games. Stick to what read the back of cereal boxes. Go see films that are intended for people that have absolutely no methodology of their film watching skills. And I'm being a hater on you, because if you rated this film a 5.3, there's something cinematically wrong.
That is an aggregate. That's an aggregate, though, isn't it? That's not like a.
Yeah, but still, some people had to have rated it a 1 or something. What is wrong with you?
Well, to be fair,
there are a lot of people who are. Oh.
I love the movie, but to be fair, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. It is much slower than a lot of movies, at least in the first couple reels.
You know what? The pacing is completely different than most films, which is something that I love. But if you're used to, I'll pick on Hollywood fare on this. If you're used to a linear narrative where the speed is always running at 110%. This is not the movie for you. But if you want to sit down and actually feel like your imagination has been engaged by a movie, this is totally the film, because it gives you enough space for you to, because I was sitting down and having fun writing my own narrative to what happened.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And I didn't feel cheated. I didn't feel like they left things out because they were lazy. I felt like it was the things that were left out intentionally or just not considered important.
And I think it's the very rare film that captures a level of personal and psychological intimacy, because you have a character who's trying to deal with her own reality, and we're watching her dealing with that and dealing with things that she's done and things that she has guilt over. And there's a intimacy to the scenes and the way that the character relates, even when she's sitting down and having mental conversations with her best friend. And I'm going to come back to that scene again, where she's sitting there mentally having a conversation with her best friend. Mm-hmm. And it feels like two kids sitting around the way you used to on slumber parties, when you pull the blanket over your head to talk to your friends, so that way nobody else could hear what you were saying, and it's just us. And it's that moment that absolutely captures it captures something that's both incredibly innocent at the same time that she's revealing some of the darkest parts of herself.
If you rated this film less than a 9, you need to go back and rewatch it. And don't do anything else. Don't sit there chatting with your friends on your phone. Don't sit there playing video games and watching it in the background. Don't think you're gonna find some some spank bank material in here. You got to watch this film and realize that it is talking to you. And if you can't hear it, then turn it off and go back
to it in a few years when maybe
go back to cereal boxes, video games, and I don't know. Maybe it's a case of people not smoking enough weed. I don't know. I
would like to point out that I was stone cold sober when I saw this film the first time,
and
I totally loved it. But yeah,
I was also.
I was in various states over the 4 or 5 times I've watched it. I plan on watching it again today, and considering some of the things that the two of you were saying while watching it. because I think that's also a lot of fun. You know, a lot of times after we review and I hear the two of you talking about different aspects of it, it opens my mind a little bit more to the film we just watched, and I go back, watch it again, taking those things into consideration and enjoying it even more. So
that's what we'd like our viewers to do as well. You know, I mean,
yeah.
You'd like
to be honest, I mean, you know, if you're one of our viewers, if you hated this film, just please explain why. Okay, I'm not really
you owe John an answer.
Yeah,
you owe me an answer.
Give us an explanation, you bastards.
Yeah, I think I demand an answer from those who rated it poorly.
I give it a press play. I loved it. It was great. One of the best of the year. I don't think that you're a horrible person if you don't like it. It's slow. It's not for everybody. It's a definite different pace. But I really dug it. I thought it was very emotionally resonant. It's weird that it's on Shudder because there's monsters in it, but I wouldn't say that the overall feeling is that of terror.
It's not a classical horror film, but horror sets the background for everything that's going on in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this definitely belongs on Shudder, just for the psychological and intelligence value of the film. You know, and I also press, you know, play.
Someone compared it to Donnie Darko meets Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And I feel that's a pretty good comparison.
Yeah.
For me, it's also a press play. And if you don't like this film, well, okay, I won't think that you're a horrible human being, but there's a really, really good chance that I'm not going to invite you over to movie night at my place.